London, autumn. The coffee machine let out a harsh, mechanical screech in the glass and metal break room of Aurelius & Co., an advertising agency often dubbed the rooftop of European creativity. But that sound was now drowned out by something else, the laughter of men. "She's going to be team leader?" Mark Reynolds chuckled, tilting the porcelain mug in his hand, a few drops of espresso spilling onto his Italian leather shoes. His voice was just loud enough for the 6 others in the room to hear. "No way she got picked for her talent," said Liam, a graphic designer, glancing toward the door just as Elena Hartmann walked in. 5 years and already that high up the ladder. Elena paused for a fraction of a second. She heard everything, every snicker, every sideways glance, every cutting remark slicing through her pride like a blade. But she didn't turn around. She didn't respond. She quietly poured herself a cup of coffee. Her simple black blazer and pencil skirt made her almost disappear into the glass wall behind her. But her eyes were unmistakable, the eyes of someone who had learned how to stand steady in the storm. "Must be close with the director," Mark went on, his tone a blend of sarcasm and jest. "Quiet girls like that can't lead a campaign." Tom, the copywriter who once bragged about being published in The Guardian, smirked as he cleaned his glasses. "Maybe she's talented in things that aren't work-related." Sarah, the only senior female designer on the team, said nothing. But her silence, it was complicit. Elena didn't speak. Her hand trembled slightly as she lifted the cup, but the liquid poured evenly, not a drop spilled. A small act, but one that declared contempt would not dictate her actions. She walked away, every step deliberate. Her back straight, shoulders squared, gaze unflinching. Behind her, Mark sneered. "See that? Doesn't even defend herself." "Classic." Liam added, "Someone like that should be making coffee, not leading a multi-million-pound campaign." Elena walked through the corridor where autumn light filtered through the high windows, making her face bare, untouched by makeup, almost translucent. She sat down at her desk, a neat space with just one photo frame turned inward. Inside was a picture of her mother, Margarete Hartmann, in a pale blue dress standing by the garden gate in Bavaria, her smile gentle but unbreakable. A long-ago gala flickered in Elena's memory. Ball gowns, scornful glances from nobility, and her mother's soft whisper. "We don't need their acceptance. We only need not to back down." Elena touched the silver pendant around her neck, the only thing left from her mother, engraved with a nearly faded phrase. "Forte senza rumor, strength in silence." She opened her laptop. All the reports for the Athena Cosmetics campaign were ready. All that remained was the final proposal for the meeting with CEO Richard Faulkner, a man known for fairness and for being utterly unsentimental. As the office still murmured with ridicule, Elena began to type. Each line on the screen was a weapon. She didn't need to shout. She needed results. 9 a.m. Hermes meeting room, 17th floor. A magnificent conference room with 3 glass walls, overlooking the Thames winding through the heart of the city like a living brushstroke. Sunlight filtered through the windows, casting reflections onto the oak table, already set with coffee, water, and thick printouts of the Athena campaign. An effort to reposition Europe's leading cosmetics brand. Everyone was present, except for one. Richard Faulkner, CEO of Aurelius & Co., a man known for never being late, and never having appointed a campaign lead under the age of 35. Mark, in a charcoal suit, smirked as Elena entered. His gaze slid from her modest low heels, up her simple blazer, and stopped at her unadorned face. "Please have a seat, project lead," Mark said airily. Yet the mockery in his voice was unmistakable. Elena said nothing. She took her seat at the head of the table, next to the large presentation screen and the neatly color-coded documents. Sarah looked directly at her for the first time, whispering, "Good luck," but her eyes darted away, as if to disassociate. Tom scratched his chin, leaned back in his chair, and exchanged a quiet chuckle with Liam. Meanwhile, Lisa, the communications manager, scrolled through Instagram, lips curled into an unreadable smile. The door opened. Richard entered. Tall, lean, with neatly combed salt and pepper hair. The air shifted instantly. Laughter vanished like a switch had been flipped. He placed his leather bag on the table, pulled out an iPad, and spoke without looking up. "Elena will present the strategic direction. I want data, rationale, and risk assessment, no fluff." Elena stood. She took a deep breath, not out of nervousness, but to summon her mother's voice. Don't aim to please them. Do it right, and they'll have no choice but to see it. She clicked on the first slide. Athena doesn't need to be a brand for everyone. It needs to clearly define who she is. Elegant, self-possessed, intelligent. We're not selling makeup. We're selling the image of a woman who doesn't ask for permission to shine. Silence. She continued, her voice steady, her eyes meeting each person's as if inscribing their names onto an invisible record. I propose we eliminate the current celebrity-driven campaign. Instead, we collaborate with real women, scientists, engineers, doctors with actual achievements. From outdoor ads to social platforms, everything will revolve around one idea. Beauty doesn't need validation. Richard looked up. Data? Elena moved to the next slide. Graphs, target audience analysis, conversion rates, ROI metrics, sharp, detailed, indisputable. Mark raised an eyebrow, cold smile playing on his lips. Dropping a celebrity? Bold move, he said, a note of challenge in his voice. Elena turned toward him, gaze unwavering. Bold, if we had no data. But we do. And our target demographic, women aged 28 to 45 with middle to high incomes, are beginning to respond negatively to the current campaign. We're losing them. Lisa frowned slightly. For the first time, she looked up from her phone. Richard remained silent, reviewing each page, his fingers gliding across the iPad. Then, unexpectedly, he asked, "What if it fails?" Elena didn't hesitate. "I take full responsibility. Personally." Her voice stamped the words with the weight of a signature. Mark opened his mouth, but Richard raised a hand. "That's enough." He glanced around the room. No one else presented a stronger plan. Athena goes to Elena. No applause. No congratulations. Just stunned silence. Mark turned away. Liam adjusted his sleeve. Tom sank back in his chair, no longer smirking. Sarah bowed her head and scribbled something in her notebook. Elena sat. Her hand rested on the table. It didn't shake. She hadn't defeated anyone. She had simply proven herself. No shouting. No table thumping. She let the work speak. Tuesday, 10:46 a.m. Printing room, 12th floor. The printer hummed quietly, like a whisper between the long, sterile corridors. Elena bent over, organizing presentation decks for the afternoon's client meeting. Each thick page bore the imprint of sleepless nights. Ideas, strategy, data, reviewed down to the final comma. The door creaked open behind her. Liam entered, pretending to check another printer, fingers grazing the touchscreen. "Heard you slept with Richard," he said casually, voice emotionless, as if asking whether she preferred tea or coffee. Elena didn't turn around. "You should watch what you say," she replied, voice low and even. "The company's monitoring internal conduct." Liam laughed. "Who'd believe you? A quiet one who suddenly rockets to the top. Sounds like political play masked as innocent victimhood." She turned, locking eyes with him. Calm, direct. "And you're the type who thinks a woman's silence means consent?" Her voice wasn't raised, but each word landed like stone. Liam paused. Elena turned back, slipped the papers into her case. She didn't wait for his response. She was used to whispers wrapped in white shirts and expensive cologne. That afternoon, client meeting room. Ellen Maillard, Athena Group's representative, a sharp-eyed woman in her early 40s with sleek black hair, sat at the head of the table, arms crossed, attentive. "I don't need inspiration. I need results. I need ROI." Her opening line cut through all hollow hopes like a blade. Elena didn't flinch. She presented the detailed strategy, supported by market feedback and successful case studies from Germany, Poland, and Denmark. One key idea emerged. "We'll profile 5 real women. A doctor, a programmer, an aerospace engineer, a single mother, and an artist. No image retouching. No voiceovers. No scripts. They tell their own stories." Ellen looked at her for a long moment. "Are you confident you can manage all risks of using real individuals?" she asked without breaking eye contact. "She's not strong in crisis management," Mark interjected smoothly. "She's brilliant with strategy, but if the public pushes back, I'm not sure." Ellen raised a hand to cut him off. She can answer for herself. Elena nodded, eyes still locked on Ellen. Risk is inherent. But this isn't gambling, it's strategy, based on data, behavioral insight, and cultural shifts. If there's a crisis, I'll handle it. Alone. No one laughed. Ellen sat back, the corner of her mouth lifting slightly. You have 4 weeks. If your results match your pitch, Athena signs a 12-month renewal. Elena nodded. Thank you. I won't let you down. That evening, at home, Elena's small South Bank apartment glowed with warm amber light. She stood before the mirror, unclasping her pendant, fingers brushing the worn inscription. Forte senza rumore, strength in silence. She remembered. Her mother once stood in a grand ballroom. No makeup, no designer gown. Just a calm gaze that made others fall silent. That not silk or status made them reflect on themselves. Elena opened her laptop. In the Athena internal folder, she saved a document titled Whispers, a collection of emails, anonymous messages, snide comments, and detailed logs of remarks from Mark, Liam, and others. Not for revenge, but to never forget. Weekend, cafe by the river. Elena, are you okay? Claire, her university best friend, asked while stirring her mint tea. I'm fine, Elena said. Eyes fixed on the bridge outside. Pause lingered. No, really. You don't have to go through this alone. Claire tilted her head. I don't like your silence. It makes those guys think they've won. Elena smiled, soft as the wind. Silence isn't surrender, Claire. It's how I charge. Monday, 7:32 a.m. Content production room, 11th floor. The Aurelius & Co. studio was usually the loudest place on a Monday morning. Keyboard clatter, soft background music for ad videos playing through ceiling speakers, cameras being adjusted, and rapid-fire conversations before deadlines. But today, the air felt different, silent to the point of discomfort. Everyone was working on Athena, the multi-million-pound campaign. But the person in charge was a woman, and for some, that remained a thorn in the eye. Elena entered with her laptop in hand, a folder pressed tightly to her side. She didn't need to speak. The production team already knew there would be a content briefing this morning. She opened her slide deck and began in a calm voice. We need real-life settings, natural lighting, unscripted voices. I've confirmed with the 5 featured women. They're ready to tell their real stories. Filming starts Wednesday. We have 10 days. A hand rose from the back row. It was Jonas Griggs, the in-house cinematographer, usually quiet, always in old hoodies and over-ear headphones. Sorry, Elena, but without a script or actors, how do we maintain control? Elena nodded. It was the first constructive question she'd received since stepping into the role. By trusting real people, she answered. Not everything will be polished, and that's our strength. I'll personally oversee the interviews. If they cry, let them cry. We're not shooting a makeup ad. We're telling stories about strength. Jonas looked at her for a moment longer, then nodded. I'll shoot for you. Elena was a little surprised, but didn't show it. Same day, communications office, 15th floor. Lisa, the one who once sneered at Elena in the break room, now sat in front of a social media analytics dashboard, brows furrowed. The first teaser for the Athena campaign, featuring a Nigerian aerospace engineer, had been uploaded to a closed testing platform. It wasn't even color-corrected yet. Within just 3 hours, it had drawn over 200 positive comments and was being shared across women in STEM groups. Lisa bit her lip. She knew this wasn't just a stroke of creative luck. This was a strategy, precise, deliberate, beating to the pulse of its target audience. She opened the company chat. To Sarah. Message. Elena's campaign is gaining traction. That's worrying. Afternoon, ground floor company bar. Sarah and Mark sat at a high table, untouched cocktails between them. Neither looked pleased. She actually pulled it off, Sarah whispered. And now no one has a reason left to object. Mark scowled, swirling his drink. Then we create one. Late evening, Elena's apartment. The glow of her laptop lit the room in a pale blue. Files were still open on the screen. But Elena sat at a small wooden desk by the window, writing in a brown leather notebook. Day 14 since Athena began. The team is still cautious, but I'm starting to see cracks in the ice. A glance. A question without sarcasm. Maybe they're not changing because of me, but because of the work. That's fine. That was always the goal. She looked up, eyes drifting toward the window, where city lights melted together, an ocean of opportunity and risk. Against her chest, the silver pendant rested cool and steady. Next day, Athena filming room. The first woman to sit before the camera was Dr. Amina Aliyemi, aerospace engineer and designer of a major airline's navigation system. What do you think about beauty? Jonas asked after 30 minutes of warm-up. Amina smiled softly, then replied, I think women like me are always told to look pleasant, so others won't feel threatened. But I wasn't born to be pleasant. I was born to be precise, to be strong, to fly. Elena stood behind the camera, holding a cup of ginger tea that had long gone cold. The exchange lasted only 45 seconds, but it made her instinctively reach for the pendant at her neck, almost without thinking. No glossy images. The truth was enough. Thursday, 8 a.m., communications room, 3rd floor, Aurelius & Co. The room was packed, not for the usual internal briefing, but for something else unfolding on the large projector screen. The first official video of the Athena campaign had just been released across all platforms. The clip was only 38 seconds long. No effects, no background music, just the soft morning light falling across the face of Dr. Amina Aliyemi, an aerospace engineer. A woman with deep-toned skin, intelligent eyes, and a voice that resonated with quiet power. She looked straight into the camera, honest and unwavering. I am not beauty in someone else's gaze. I am beauty in the precision of the flight paths I design. A single line appeared afterward, simple and bold. Hashtag Athena Unfiltered. You don't need permission to shine. No one in the room spoke. The entire communications team stared at the screen. No visual tricks. No celebrity faces. No emotion-tugging music. And because of that, because of its raw simplicity, no one could look away. The silence that lingered more than 10 seconds after the video ended was its own kind of standing ovation. 10:12 a.m., strategy room, 19th floor. Richard Faulkner walked in, laptop in hand, expression cold as ever. Yet something flickered behind the lenses of his glasses. He sat down without preamble. The campaign hit 150,000 shares in 2 hours, he said flatly. The room froze. LinkedIn is exploding. Athena is no longer just a cosmetics brand. It's becoming a symbol for women in STEM. Elena sat at the head of the table, back straight, showing no sign of triumph. Her face calm, like she had expected this all along, though it took her 3 full seconds to steady her breath. Beneath her shirt collar, the silver pendant brushed warm against her skin, as if reacting to the very light she had worked so hard to build. Sarah looked genuinely unsettled for the first time. Lisa wasn't smirking anymore, nor casting those evaluative side eyes. And Mark sat silent, chin tilted, finger tapping the wooden table. A silence more telling than any insult. 1:35 p.m., A shift begins. An email began circulating, not through official channels, but through private chats, quiet forwards, and whispered group messages. No clear sender. Just a subject line. Elena Hartmann, success from merit or privilege? Attached was a screenshot of an old article from a German financial magazine. Headline: Elena Hartmann, daughter of Heinrich von Hartmann, the investor once embroiled in Munich's market manipulation scandal. Beneath it, an anonymous comment, snide and provoking. Looks like she learned how to wield power early. That silent pride. What is it really hiding? The rumor spread like wildfire. No one sent it directly to Elena, but every hallway glance, every hushed exchange, told her it was out there, being read and judged. That evening, Elena's apartment. The pale blue light of her laptop glowed in the dark room. A message from Claire had been sitting there for 20 minutes. That old article. Is it true? They're sharing it. Even an intern sent it to me. Elena didn't respond. Her hand rested on her pendant, gripping it gently. The article wasn't wrong. Heinrich von Hartmann was her father, once one of Bavaria's wealthiest men, investigated for manipulating stock markets through shell companies. Never convicted but never trusted again. The family had quietly shattered. Her mother, Margarethe, the ever-silent, ever-strong, had brought her to London to start over. Elena had buried that part of her life for nearly 12 years. Her phone vibrated. A message from Jonas Griggs, the campaign's lead videographer. "They're playing dirty. Want me to take it to legal?" She stared at the message for a moment, then replied, "No, I'll handle it myself." The next morning, Richard's office. Elena stepped in. Richard was reviewing a printout of the old article. His eyes weren't angry, not cold, just calculating, the look of an executive assessing risk. "Elena," he said, "I don't care about your family, but the board will ask questions. I need to know. Do you have anything to hide?" She didn't flinch. She didn't shift in her seat or brace herself. She answered in a voice low, firm, and gapless. "I had a father who lived wrongly, and a mother who taught me how to live right. I didn't choose where I was born, but I chose where I stand today." Richard didn't respond right away. He looked at her for a long moment, then closed the file. "The campaign continues," he said, "but be ready. The next hit will come from where you least expect it." Same time, 16th floor, private meeting room. Sarah sat across from Lisa. Neither spoke. Lisa's phone screen was still lit, showing the leaked message thread. She glanced sideways at Sarah, hesitating. "We've gone too far, haven't we?" Sarah didn't answer immediately. Her eyes stared at the wood grain on the table. Finally, her voice came, soft, almost exhaled. She proved her ability. "And we just stayed silent too long." That night, Elena at her mirror. Her face wasn't hard nor soft. It was clear, like water that had flowed over stone. She opened the drawer of her desk and pulled out a worn slip of paper, a short handwritten note from her mother given to her when they first moved to London. "If they try to dim your light, let your work relight the fire. They can't extinguish a lamp they don't own." Elena folded the letter, fastened the pendant around her neck, not to hide it, but to remind herself. This was her light. Unborrowed. Unapologetic. She had not fallen. Monday, 9 a.m., 20th floor conference room. The entire Athena project leadership team was present. The room blazed with early week sunlight, but the air was heavy, thick with the tension of an impending storm. All eyes turned to the woman in a simple black blazer seated at the far end of the table, Elena Hartmann, project lead. The woman who had just led the company's most viral campaign of the year. And the woman now caught in a web of rumors as tight as steel mesh. On the big screen, the opening slide of the Athena Phase 1 report appeared. A simple, striking title. 600% reach growth, 1.2M cross-shares, highest Q1 ROI. Elena stood. She said nothing about the rumors. No defense. No denials. She presented the data. Each graph. Each customer comment. Each conversion rate. Every click became proof. Evidence. Truth. The room was completely silent. When she finished, Richard leaned back in his chair, hand on his chin. "No one disputes the results of this campaign," he said. "But there's still an issue we need to address." He tapped a button. The screen changed, now displaying leaked internal chat logs. The first message was from a nickname. Grayscale 78, her dad was under financial crime investigation. No way she's clean. Followed by Tombrew 88, must be Papa's protege. Learned how to cut the line early. And lastly, L. Reynolds, now we know why she got the lead. Didn't need to do much to move up fast. The entire room held its breath. Tom, seated by the window, turned pale. Liam stared at his cuff. But Mark Reynolds kept his chin up, fingers interlaced on the table, gaze steady. A familiar, dangerous smirk played at the corners of his mouth. "Elena," Richard said. "Do you have a response?" She stood tall, arms relaxed at her sides, gaze sweeping the room, from those who had sparked the fire to those who stayed quiet while it burned. Her voice was calm, deliberate, and rang clear like crystal. "For the past 3 months, I've worked from 6 in the morning until midnight. I led the company's largest campaign of the year, surpassing every target. I didn't ask for privilege. I didn't demand favoritism. I let the work speak. But if I'm being attacked not for my ability, but because some believe I don't deserve the seat due to my gender, my lineage, or my silence, then this company is no longer a safe place for any woman who wants to succeed based on merit. No one said a word. Mark's smirk remained. Elena opened her case and pulled out a thick folder. She placed it in front of Richard. This is a record of internal messages, screenshots from witnesses, and confirmed evidence that 3 members of the strategy department, including Mark Reynolds, intentionally disseminated false personal information about me in an effort to discredit me. Lisa audibly inhaled. Sarah turned her face away. Elena didn't pause. This is no longer personal. This is a coordinated act of workplace harassment with intent, with pattern, and with motive. Richard opened the file. His face darkened gradually. In that moment, Elena saw something shift in his expression, no longer just the gaze of a CEO, but of a man who could no longer look away from the truth. "Thank you, Elena," he said quietly. "I'll forward this to legal and HR. The investigation begins this afternoon." Mark broke the silence with a soft laugh. "You're not so different from the rest of us. You just played smarter." Elena looked at him, no rage, no contempt. Only the quiet resolve of someone no longer afraid of the dark. "I didn't play smarter, Mark. I played fair." 3:27 p.m. Internal email from HR sent to all staff. "We confirm that an investigation is underway into breaches of conduct and corporate ethics involving 3 employees. All staff with relevant information are encouraged to cooperate." 5:05 p.m. Ground floor cafeteria. Sarah sat alone, heels off under the table. Lisa approached slowly, hesitated, then sat across from her. "That day, I should have said something," Lisa murmured. "But I was scared that if I defended her, I'd be next." Sarah nodded. "Me too." Lisa turned her tea mug in her hands. "Maybe it's time we stop staying silent." Sarah smiled, a tired, honest smile. "It's never too late." That night, Elena's apartment. Elena stood alone at the window. Below, the lights of London stretched wide like a living map, beautiful and brutal. She opened her brown leather journal and wrote in violet ink. "Victory is not exposing them. Victory is not becoming them. Not retaliating with hatred. Not retreating out of fear." She closed the journal, removed her pendant, and placed it on the wooden desk, right beside her mother's handwritten letter. Then she turned on the lamp, not to light the room, but to see herself more clearly in the mirror.